How much of the body is there?
The search for a missing woman took a disturbing turn when mountain rescuers made this discovery.
Large boulders cutting back over. There's an opening over here, cutting through underneath some barbed wire fence. Body.
Now detectives had to go back and figure out the chain of events that got her there. Before we begin, we would like to extend our deepest sympathies to the family and loved ones of the victim in this case, Rachel Holman. When Casey Childers and his girlfriend Shantel Edlund hit the road in early November of 2021, they were on a mission. It was a drug dealer's version of a business trip. There was a time when 43-year-old Shantel had more traditional career aspirations. She had previously worked as a high school language arts teacher, but her life took a detour into the dark underworld when she skidded into the grips of a methamphetamine addiction. Casey and Shantel were from Sheridan, Wyoming. The destination for their drug run was Denver, Colorado. Denver is exactly 1 mile above sea level. It's also known as the Mile High City, but it was a meth high that Casey and Shantel were chasing. Before heading towards Denver, the couple drove about 2 hours northeast to pick up their friend Rachel Holman in Shepherd, Montana. The trio's 3-state road trip began with hopeful anticipation. They thought they would secure an abundance of drugs for themselves, plus rake in a tidy profit from selling the surplus. But somewhere along the way, their plan went awry. Rachel never made it home to Montana. It took several weeks for her disappearance to come to the attention of police. After a missing persons report was filed in mid-December, they pinged her phone and learned that it had gone dead in Aurora, a suburb east of Denver in Douglas County. The plot thickened when the investigators found out that her traveling companions had deactivated their phones in the same area. So what happened to Rachel? The Douglas County Sheriff's Office caught a break when they realized they'd already encountered Shantel's car around 1 a.m. on November the 7th, right around the time 29-year-old Rachel Holman had disappeared. One of their cruiser's dash cams had captured images of the Chevy Malibu on the roadside as they passed it on the way to respond to another incident. A woman had called 911 to report a possible home invasion because her home alarm was going off. She was terrified and begged the dispatcher to send help quickly.
Kathy, tell me what's happening.
I don't know.
Okay.
There is please.
What kind of help do you need? Do you need police, fire, or paramedic?
Yes.
Kathy?
Please.
What do you need help with? How can we help?
I don't know. Like this thing has gone off and somebody's trying to get in.
Okay, someone's trying to get into your home?
Yes.
Okay. Go to a safe spot in the house, Kathy.
Please hurry.
We're coming.
I'm scared.
Okay. Is there anyone else in the house with you?
No, I'm alone. It's the 9,000 square foot home.
Okay, is that your alarm going off?
Yes, can't you hear it?
I can, Kathy. Calm down for me just as best you can. I know it's scary. Who else is in the house with you?
Nobody.
Okay. Kathy, can you go to your room and lock your door for me?
I can try, but I'm scared to get up.
Okay, where are you at right now?
In the living room, also.
Okay. Can you take your dog and go to your room and lock the door?
Yes. Please hurry.
We're coming as fast as we can, Kathy, but I need you to take that dog and go in your room and lock yourself in there.
Yes, sorry.
A burglary that is committed brazenly while the home is occupied is considered a serious incident that could result in injury or death. Several officers were immediately dispatched to the scene.
310 on him. There is a large dog on scene. He's not willing to go into the room with the RP. Maybe 100 10-pound retriever. It's too hard for her to get in there. She's locked herself into a bedroom on the first level.
Police officers arrived within a few minutes. 2 deputies made contact with the homeowner while the others searched the property for possible perpetrators. They weren't the only ones watching out for the homeowner. Her dogs, both retrievers, had launched into protection mode.
Hello.
He's friendly.
Oh, he's a big puppy dog.
Yep. Are there other people?
What's that?
Are there other people to help you?
I put them all outside the perimeter. So we've been here for about 5 minutes. The first thing we did is check all around. So we got here pretty quick.
No, I mean, there were other cops here.
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready to let go.
It was a large house, and officers searched it thoroughly. The dogs were friendly, but continued guarding. Each took a different role. The brown female dog stationed herself protectively beside her person, while the white male dog paced repeatedly back and forth between the officers.
We're pretty good. We get every closet door, everything like that. Under every bed, if you make them done. So I was on the SWAT team for years, so we did a full-on SWAT clear. We checked everything. So it was a double.
Although the police did not find any intruders on the property that night, a supervising patrol officer passed Shantel's car parked on the side of the road as he raced to the scene. He was suspicious of the sedan and thought its occupants might possibly be involved in the potential burglary. After responding to the home, he returned to where Shantel had been parked, but she wasn't there anymore. A pack of police cars racing to the other call had made Shantel nervous, so she took off and left Casey and Leo behind. She was high as a kite and running on zero sleep, so it would be easy to dismiss her fear of being caught by the cops that night as drug-addled paranoia. But as it turns out, there was a police officer on her tail. The same cop who had spotted her earlier sped up to 90 miles an hour to catch up to the Malibu so he could read its Wyoming license plate. He ran the digits through the mobile data terminal, but he didn't get a hit, so he asked the Douglas County Regional Dispatch to try running it too. He continued following Shantel until he received another call that demanded his attention as a supervisor. It was sheer luck that allowed Shantel to escape and enjoy another 2 months of freedom. No evidence was ever found to indicate that Shantel's crew had anything to do with the burglary call, but the information the officer collected that night would end up serving a valuable purpose. In mid-December, when detectives started to investigate what had happened to Rachel, they were able to connect her disappearance to the silver 2016 Chevy Malibu and its location in the wee hours of the morning on November the 7th. It would bring them closer to finding her. On December the 29th, Shantel was driving the same car back in Sheridan, Wyoming, with 39-year-old Casey and a 23-year-old man named Leo Van Buskirk. When police pulled them over for a traffic stop, all 3 were arrested on drug charges and warrants unrelated to Rachel's disappearance. But investigators soon learned of their involvement from statements that Shantel made about Rachel while she was in custody. The following day, Aurora, Colorado detectives traveled to Wyoming to interrogate the 3 suspects. Then they arrested them on first-degree kidnapping charges. They learned that the Douglas County Sheriff's Office had run Shantel's plate around the same time Rachel went missing and contacted them to find out why. That led officers to begin scouring a remote area in Douglas County for Rachel later that night.
This is perfect. This is a perfect pull-off for them. But that brush is high enough that they could easily walk her back there and nobody'd see. What do you think this is? Brown. Think that's animal?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, this would be a perfect place to bring her. But I can guarantee you they didn't go, you know, down through these rocks. She's somewhere shallow.
Finding Rachel among the rocky terrain in the pitch black of night proved impossible. The next day was New Year's Eve, but the upcoming holiday did not slow the searchers down. Early in the morning of December the 31st, investigators reviewed the dashcam video that had captured the footage of Shantel's car back in November so they could pinpoint the location of Rachel's body. They resumed their mission again, and this time were able to use drones to conduct an aerial search.
Hi, Mr. Coroner.
How are you?
My name is Dave. I'm
Dave,
the rescue.
pleasure.
I'm the rescue lead
Good
here.
lead, fantastic.
Do you have a body bag?
We do. We'll get you set up with a body bag. We're
Okay.
going to use a sheet on this one as well.
Okay.
And we'll have a couple bags that we'll hand handed.
Okay.
So the MDI will go ahead and take care of that.
Somebody said you didn't have a body bag.
at the sheriff's office.
Oh, okay.
That sounded a little strange to me.
Yeah.
Think about it.
It's like
That'd be nice if we didn't have to have a body
Yeah.
bag. Oh. They have to stop here on this road and physically carry her down there. It's pretty ballsy. Or she started to run and they shot from a distance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But
How would she have gotten out? I mean, on this road.
yeah, that's the thing, yeah.
Rachel was found south of Franktown in Douglas County on the east side of Highway 83 and north of the East Rim Road near mile marker 48. The search and rescue team was mystified as to how the perpetrators had managed to get Rachel down the hillside and over a barbed wire fence in the middle of the night. One of the rescuers filmed their challenging route that the team had to take to navigate to where Rachel had been lying for almost 2 months. Her head was leaning against a small tree and her hands were resting in her lap. She had been shot in the top of the head. A boulder hung over part of her body.
Alright, so we're looking east currently. Highway 83 south. Highway 83 north. We're going down a pretty steep embankment using rope. Cutting back over loose rocks. Large boulders, cutting back over. Heavy shrubbery over here with a slight path. Following the path east. There's an opening over here, cutting through underneath some barbed wire fence. Alright. Small path heading south. Body.
Long after this crime was committed, proffer sessions were conducted with Shantel Edlund and Leo Van Buskirk. That included their public defenders, along with the prosecutor and detectives. Proffers are used to obtain information from defendants in exchange for better plea deals, such as reduced charges and more favorable sentencing recommendations. It was during these sessions that the nitty-gritty details of Rachel's demise came to light. Shantel Edlund was the first to offer in a proffer. The meeting took place on April the 20th, 2022, about 6 months after Rachel Holman was murdered.
With proffers, and I think we've all kind of seen this with our time, and you already made a statement when you walked in here and sat down that you're very nervous, you want to throw up, right? So if you do have to throw up, please let me know and we can get you to the bathroom or something, okay?
It's right behind you.
So the biggest thing I want to point out is don't minimize, okay? So a lot of this investigation has already been proven, and we're very confident with the investigation in terms of where it's led us. And I think a lot of the questions that we have for you, we already know the answer to, okay, because it's contained within a lot of the search warrants and things that we've written for the case. Have you had a chance to look at the discovery for this case? Okay, so are you pretty familiar with it? All right, so you understand with that in mind that there would be no point in not telling the truth about something, right? Okay.
Shantel began telling her story. When they rolled into Denver in November, they stayed in various hotels and partied with other friends who were also in the area. The trip was going as planned until one of their cohorts dropped a bomb on Casey. Rachel had attempted to go over his head to buy drugs. Not only that, but she tried to leapfrog over Casey's supplier Sean to directly access Sean's plug, a man who went by the name of Flame. In the drug world, a plug describes a person who can connect buyers with drugs.
Everything that I said in the first interview was correct up until the point when this is really hard. It's okay, take your time. Okay, so Sean comes and for some reason meets us at the shopping mall. I'm not really aware of what's going on because I don't really pay much attention to what Casey and everybody else has going on. You know, I'm just there to like look out for him, you know. And so Casey's gone. I think he must have been with Leo. And Sean shows up with Rachel, and they sit in his truck, and they wait for Casey to get back, and then they took off. And then at that point, Quentin like tells us about Rachel like talking shit about us, and then wanting to get above Sean and get to Flame so that she could get a connection that bypassed us and Sean.
Quentin brings that to light?
Yeah.
Okay, and who's sitting in the car when he says that?
Me and Casey. Because Leo and Casey came back, and then Leo left.
Okay.
I think. And then like I didn't really know what was going on, like why Rachel was with Sean or anything. And then Casey and Quentin like decided what the rest of our day would look like, and I don't remember what we did the rest of the day.
When you say decided what the rest of your day looked
Like we just did whatever Casey wanted to do.
So when Quentin says Rachel's trying to go around you guys, right? Basically cut you guys out, right? That's one, taking profit away from you guys.
Right.
Right? And two, it could also take your connect away depending on how much business that she wants, right? He might just mess with her, not mess with you. Same thing with Sean, your connect, right? That hooks you up with Flame. What was Casey's reaction?
He was pissed.
Like, so explain that. Like, what was his emotional state? What were the words that he used? I know you're not going to be able to give me exact quotes, but what pissed is, to me, might be something completely different than what it is.
He was mad. He didn't understand why she would do that.
Okay.
And he was angry. And during this whole trip, he was flipping back and forth between James and Casey a lot. So James was really prevalent during this trip.
Mm-hmm.
So like when James comes out, so like Casey is really kind and caring, and then when James comes out, like James is like mean and aggressive, and so Casey tries to like keep James under wraps because James is capable of doing horrible things. Okay. So, you know, it was like between Casey and James, but when James was there, he was like obviously like pissed about it, talking shit, you know, like what the fuck, why would she do that, you know, and like, you know, just animated.
Casey was now furious that Rachel was trying to cut him out as the middleman, and he wasn't about to let this stinging betrayal go unaddressed. He was going to teach her a lesson. Shantel maintains that she assumed Casey intended to get revenge by dropping Rachel off in the middle of nowhere to walk back alone. She admitted that she was the one who sent Sean a message requesting that he bring Rachel back to them. A few hours later, between 10 and 11 p.m. on November the 6th, Rachel showed up with Sean and Flame. Considering the purpose of the meeting, the location they chose was odd: the parking garage at the Children's Hospital in Aurora. That's because one of their friends who was part of the posse, a 23-year-old man named Leo Van Buskirk, had a sick child who had been admitted there.
So, truck pulls in to the parking garage. Are you guys on the, do you remember what level you're on in the parking garage?
No. I feel like we were on, like there was a level above us, but still we weren't on the very top.
Okay. What happens once Sean pulls in?
I get out and I go over, and I think Rachel climbs across Sean. I don't know why I think that. Or, I don't know. And then she gets in the back seat, and then Casey gets in on this side, and then I went in and got on this side, behind the driver's side.
Okay, so, and just so I'm clear, you're talking, and what car specifically did you guys get into?
My car.
Okay.
The Malibu.
The Malibu. And in the back seat, it's Casey, Rachel in the middle seat, yourself, and then who's driving?
Leo.
Leo. Okay. Good. Leo was fully aware at this point what's going down. Okay.
He had to have been.
Okay.
She said, sorry, what did you say?
He had to have been, yeah.
Because he's there.
He's there, and I had told him that we were going to drop her off.
And he didn't say anything to that?
No.
Okay.
For his part, Leo tried to minimize his involvement with the group. He claimed he didn't really know Rachel or Sean and had never met Flame before. He said he knew Casey and Shantel and was aware that they owned guns, but said that he didn't know where the guns were that night. Shantel and Casey were so fond of their firearms that they even gave them names, Pistol Pete and Gat Marie, respectively.
Anything else in like the relationship dynamics or
so like as far as like relationship dynamics, like I mean I'm friends with these people, but this is like right after I met them. Like I wasn't like good friends with them until like right before you guys arrested us all. And even then it was kind of like a tense situation. It's like me and Casey are homies because Casey likes to act like a 20-year-old. I was a 20-year-old trying to have fun and like get high. They are my drug dealers. I sell drugs for them. Like there's that dynamic in there. They're always fighting. So like I said, they were fighting before the night even really started. So anything that they did at that point wasn't different, I guess. Then like tweakers are spontaneous. Like Casey's a twitchy tweaker anyway, so like he's always doing sporadic like random shit. Chantel's a tweaker that thinks she's smarter than everybody and like won't let anybody in on her thoughts, so she's never talking to anybody except like who she wants to talk to. I guess clueless, but more so like I'm just trying to have fun. Like I'm trying to relax and like have fun when I'm getting high. So I'm not like in everybody else's drama. It's easier to have a level-headed like good life if I'm not involved in everybody else's drama.
After Rachel got in the car, she was trapped, pinned between Casey and Shantel. But that's not how Shantel viewed Rachel's predicament. In her mind, Rachel could have fought her way out if she really wanted to, but that wouldn't have been easy to accomplish. She had a person on either side who was angry and armed, blocking her exit.
Because we were going to teach her a lesson, so like roughing her up was part of that.
Okay.
And, you know, I didn't hit her enough to make her bleed, and I for sure thought she was going to like fight back, and she didn't. Because in my situation, if it would be me sitting in between her, because like I said, I've had that gun pointed at my head before, I don't back down, I fight. You know, and I'm not going to sit there and I don't care if you have a gun pulled on me, I'm not going to sit there and not do anything. I'm going to freaking fight my way out of the car.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to get in a car and then be sandwiched between two people.
Right.
You know, I'll take out the driver. You know?
Walk me through with what happens next once Rachel's in the back seat.
Leo takes off driving, and then I hit Rachel. I elbowed her.
Okay.
And then
with your right arm?
Yeah.
Right.
And then there was no blood or anything.
No blood when you hit her?
Mm-hmm.
How do you know that?
Because I looked at her and there was no blood on my clothes.
Okay. What was her reaction when you elbowed her?
She didn't have a reaction. It was really weird. Even when Casey was talking to her, she was just, like, not there. She answered a little bit, to Casey when he was talking to her about, like, why she would go above him, and he was trying to help her out, you know, and everything, and she just kind of looked at him, like, she didn't really say much.
Was she scared?
I didn't get the sense that she was scared. her reaction would not have been my reaction at all. So it was really odd to me, and I remember thinking, it's really weird, like, why isn't she, like, arguing or fighting? You know, I was expecting her to hit me back, you know, and then she didn't. She just sat there.
We'll never know how Rachel was feeling at this point, but what Shantel described gives us some clues. 3 common defense reactions to fear and stress are flight, fight, or freeze. When the brain concludes that it isn't possible to fight or flee from a dangerous situation, the freeze response can kick in. Paralyzing fear might have caused Rachel to disassociate and shut down. It allowed her not to feel the full weight of what was about to happen to her.
And specifically, what was he saying?
That he was pissed that she would go around him, and he was, like, at one point almost in tears about it, and then just, like, not understanding, like, I don't understand why you would do this, you know, I'm trying to help you out, you know. And she just would look at him, and then she finally, like, when we got closer to where we had pulled over, she did acknowledge that she was trying to go around him, but and that just looked like she was like, yeah, I was doing that, I'm sorry. And then that was really basically all she really said. But he was really upset.
According to Shantel, Rachel never did try to get out of the car. She said if Rachel had fought for her freedom, they probably would have stopped the car and let her out. But she took measures to make sure Rachel couldn't get away. Before they arrived at the location where she was eventually killed, they stopped at a gas station to get fuel and food. When Shantel went inside, she instructed Leo to take her place in the back seat so Rachel could not escape. After their pit stop, they drove for a while until Casey found a spot suitable to exact his revenge. He instructed Shantel to pull over and got out with Leo and Rachel. But then the police cars appeared that were heading to the burglary call, and Shantel panicked when she realized one of the cruisers was following her. She also admitted to the prosecutor and detectives that she had lied in the initial interview that she had with police when she pretended she didn't know Rachel had been murdered that night.
This is where I lied in the first interview. I already knew that she was dead, obviously, when I first talked to you guys. I was trying to protect Casey. But, when I pulled over, I said to begin with that all of us got out of the car, but all of us didn't get out of the car. Leo and Casey got out of the car with Rachel, and then they told me to go and turn around and come back. So they got out, and then I took off, but there was, like, lots of cops and everything out there at this time. And so I dropped them off, and then I leave them, and I, like, pull out. I go all the way up to the stop sign, and I turn around and I came back, and then I didn't see anybody walking, and so I turned around again, and then I kind of pulled over where we had parked, and then a cruiser came by, and he flipped around, and so I took off, and I drove all the way down to that stop sign, and then I turned off onto a road, and that cruiser was still behind me. I had like a pound of dope on me, and I'm like super freaked out, and I think one of my taillights was out, or when my headlight was out. I was having issues with my lights on my car, and then so I had turned, and then I turned on another road, and I, like, parked behind this barn, and I sat there for like 3 hours. And then when I came out of the barn, like out of there, I went and I was like hollering for them, and I drove up and down. I don't know how long I was driving up and down, like hollering for them. And I sent Sean a message asking if he had heard anything from Casey. And I think he sent one back later. I don't think it was right away. It was later that said that he hadn't heard anything from them. And then I finally find them. I'm like whistling and hollering. I finally find them, and they run up, and it's just Casey and Leo. And Casey's pretty banged up. He's got like scratches on his legs and stuff. And they get into the car.
Was it still dark out when they got in the car?
I think it was around 4 a.m.
Okay.
when I picked them up. But they thought I left them. They thought I freaked out and I left them. Well, I did freak out because I thought that was going to get pulled over and get caught with a bunch of methamphetamines.
Casey and Leo were relieved to get back in the car when Shantel finally found them. But that feeling of solace was short-lived. It wasn't long before Casey believed the ghost of Rachel had showed up to taunt him.
When they get into the car, what happens? What's the conversation?
Casey thought that the whistling was Rachel, that she was haunting him already.
Leo had his proffer meeting in December of 2023, more than a year and a half after Shantel had hers. Many of the details they supplied were the same, but there was one significant inconsistency in their stories. Leo tried to distance himself from Rachel's murder. He said he knew nothing about it and didn't find out that she had been killed until police spoke with him about it in December. Detectives pushed him to admit that he had played a bigger role than he was willing to admit.
So I guess the biggest question I have is, what happened to Rachel?
So I assumed at that point that she just got dropped off somewhere. She didn't want to be somewhere. She would have been the second person we dropped off that night and like got abandoned somewhere. So
You're talking about Quentin being the first
yeah,
one?
Quentin being the first. Which, I mean, I wasn't so much against because didn't really like Quentin to begin with. Didn't have anything against him, but like also he wasn't my friend, so wasn't worried about it. I had shit to do. So when I had figured that like, oh well, cops came by, Rachel fucking probably wasn't wanting to deal with any of that shit, and like I get dropped off somewhere, or like they went and did something, like they were gone for I don't know 45 minutes while we were walking, like 45 minutes, an hour, something like that.
Okay.
Like when we were walking, so I assumed like they had time to go back and drop her off or something.
Our understanding is that Rachel's walked down an embankment and then very likely put on her knees, and then she's executed. So the round goes in the top of her head, and it's located inside of her. So someone had to be above her when that happened. Okay. That's what we want to figure out what happened. And I guess it's hard to sit here and just hear like, well, and like I said, everything you've said is corroborated. I'm not doubting a lot of the details around like your interactions that day, being at the hospital, driving. A lot of that stuff's corroborated, right? Your phone is down there too at some point.
Yeah.
All that stuff makes sense. It's just at what point that she's executed, right?
Yeah.
And I have confidence in the investigation that Casey's the one who pulled the trigger. Okay, I don't think there's any questions about that whatsoever. I guess it stands in terms of like, how did that happen? Were you there for that? Did you hear a gunshot?
Like I said, I did my shot in the car, and I'm already hearing bells and whistles, and then I started hearing sirens, and that's when I'm telling myself, okay, those aren't real sirens, and that's when I started seeing the red and blue lights. So that's where my focus was at that point in time. I was probably in the car for anywhere between 10 and 20 minutes before I actually got back out of it. I don't know the exact span of time, but long enough to sit there, pull up a little bit of dope I have, mix it up in a little dish, pull it up in the syringe, find a vein, hit it, like that whole process, and then sit there and like rush for a second, and then the cops come by.
If this happened, and it did happen, right? Casey killed her, Casey killed Rachel. Why is that not something that resonates in your mind to any degree? Because you were with Casey when you guys were walking back up and get picked up by Shantel.
Didn't say anything like that. Like, he didn't. I mean, granted, he like wasn't really saying anything. I was 9/10 of the conversation, but I just figured that's because I was higher than him and like I was making random conversation at that.
Okay.
Leo did not waver from his story. He continued to deny having any involvement in Rachel's death, but investigators remained skeptical. They wondered aloud if maybe he was trying to protect Casey, or was he trying to protect himself?
You guys drive to this remote part of the road with Rachel in the car, and then Rachel, just per your account, right?
Yeah.
Rachel is just mysteriously gone, and there's no questions asked about it, nobody says anything, and you guys just go on your business, and then a couple weeks later, we're asking you, hey, we're looking for this missing person, where is she? And you just say, I don't really know her. And I recognize blissful ignorance certainly to a point, because I get it. You guys are in this world. You're not necessarily like really good friends with all these people involved, and I get that. I understand that. But in no way can I reconcile that. My personal opinion is you're holding out. You're holding out because of an allegiance probably to Casey. And I don't know why. But, I mean, am I off on that? Is that
I mean, I'll be straight up. I think that 70% of what you're telling us is true, and I think 30% is self-serving. Right? Like, that's my honest opinion. I could be wrong, but I'm usually not in these situations.
There's just no way, dude. There's no way. What I will tell you is the sweatshirt that she was wearing was taken off of her. Okay? She was intentionally placed under a bush and under a rock. I would maybe assume 2 people. I guess it's possible one person was just dragged her there. The guns that were utilized by Shantel and Casey, the murder weapon by Casey, was wrapped in that sweatshirt, hidden under a tree, secreted under a tree, and they came back about a month later and picked it up per Shantel.
Yeah.
While Leo was tight-lipped about what had happened to Rachel, Shantel was more forthcoming with the details of Rachel's last moments.
How did he kill Rachel?
He shot her in the head.
Okay, and are you saying that because you saw the discovery, or are you saying that because Casey told you?
He told me.
And what specifically did he tell you?
He told me that he shot her in the head, and then he told me what it sounded like.
What did it sound like?
Like crunching and like, I don't know, squishy, I don't know. I just see a picture.
Huh?
I just see a picture in my head.
What
More
picture
than the words.
What picture do you see?
Her skull crushing and blood everywhere.
And where is she right prior to her being shot? When you picture it in your mind, is she standing up?
Standing up next to rocks.
Did you see the picture of her in Discovery?
No.
Because it's in the affidavit. You didn't see that?
No.
That's right. She asked not to see it, so we warned her what page it was on, so she didn't have to see it.
Where's Casey when you're envisioning this in your mind, and from what Casey told you about how it happened? Like, paint a picture for me, and I know that it's hard, right? But these are
standing, like in my mind, like Rachel would be standing like here, and Casey would be standing like behind her. I don't know why that's the way I picture it, but that's the way I pictured it. He said that she hugged him and she was crying at that point and apologizing. But he still did it.
Did he make her kneel down?
I don't know.
After hearing Shantel's statements, there was one final task to complete in the proffer session. The detective asked her to identify the victim and each suspect out of a 6-pack of photo lineups. The exercise revealed that Casey's brutal killing of Rachel had not diminished her adoration of him one bit. She was still clearly smitten when his photo was presented.
This is the first one I'll show you. Do you know anybody in that?
That's Rachel.
Okay. Would you mind just circling
You guys okay with that?
the picture and then just writing next to it with your initials?
Circle that.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I keep it?
You know what's funny is I expected that question.
Did you?
I did.
Oh, I fucking love it so much. It defies all rational thought.
Do you mind just initialing by it too for me? Thanks.
It's so handsome.
In August of 2022, Shantel Edlund pled guilty to conspiracy to commit second-degree murder and was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Leo Van Buskirk pled guilty to charges of conspiracy to commit second-degree murder and second-degree kidnapping. He was sentenced in August of 2024 to 25 years for each charge. Those sentences will run concurrently. Upon release, he will face 3 years of mandatory parole. Casey Childers opted to have his case go to trial rather than accept a plea deal. In July of 2024, a jury found him guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was also convicted of second-degree kidnapping and sentenced to 32 years plus another 16 years for conspiracy to commit second-degree kidnapping. Those 2 sentences will run concurrently with his life sentence.